What made you, or Jimmy Kimmel, or any of these other late night people, what made you the arbiters of what is morally good? I want to know that. I want to tell you who died and made you boss of morality in this country. Because I got to tell you, you're lacking severely in morality in a lot of areas. But I would say to these people that are trying to hypocritically divide America and have this moral superiority, I would say to them, why would you do this to people? It's going to come back to bite you. It absolutely is. So what happened is, I guess Norm Macdonald, who had said these things about the Me Too movement, he was supposed to go on Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show, and apparently that has been canceled. I think he canceled it himself, but I think it was because they essentially told him, look, we don't want this, we don't want you. I think they forced him to cancel it. I think that's what happened. That's my opinion about it. But so what I wanted to say to you is that we have this situation where now Norm Macdonald is being treated unfairly, I believe. And I think what we need to do is we need to this is where I want to address directly those people of what I call the left-wing ministry of propaganda for late-night television. People like Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and a couple of the other ones there. These people are very disingenuous, very, very hypocritical. And I think some of them, I don't want to treat them like they're evil, but I think they're just ignorant. I think they don't understand what they're doing. They think they're doing the right thing, but they really are not. And I want to speak directly to them. And I want to speak directly to you, Jimmy Fallon, because you think you're such a beacon of hope and truth. You're really not. You speak a lot of ignorance. You tell people that you know what's right. You criticize the president every day in your monologue, and it isn't just a funny little thing like, oh, the president tripped today, or look at his hair, or whatever. No, it's worse. I mean, you make him out to be a complete bumbling idiot, and it doesn't matter that, yes, he's outspoken, he does say things that seem a little bit strange at times, absolutely. But the point is, if you look at his policies, if you look at his ideas, they're very good ideas, and they've already translated into incredible changes for the better in America. You're talking about some amazing improvements already, and it's been less than 2 years. It's just awesome, and so instead of acknowledging that and treating the president like, hey, you know what, he's doing I don't agree with everything, but I think that yes, there are some good improvements that he has made. No, they can't. They wouldn't dare do that. Because either they really believe that he's terrible and they just hate him so much, or they have to obey their handlers, the left-wing leadership that has told them, you better toe the line, people. And I hope, Jimmy, that you're not afraid of your overlords. I hope that that's not what the problem is here. I hope that you can eventually be objective, because right now you're not. You're not objective. You are acting irresponsibly. And I would say this to you. What made you, or Jimmy Kimmel, or any of these other late-night people, what made you the arbiters of what is morally good? I want to know that. I want to tell you who died and made you boss of morality in this country. Because I got to tell you, you're lacking severely in morality in a lot of areas. Remember, it was Hollywood. It was Hollywood that created the immorality of today's society. They're the ones that projected this idea that morality is subjective. It's more of a it's what they call a moral relativism. They don't care if sexual immorality and you name it. All the things that they make movies where people are shooting people constantly, and there's murder and mayhem and all these things. I'm not saying it's illegal to make movies like that, but what I'm saying is that you do these things. You do these things, and then you turn around and try to say you're the moral arbiter, that you have the better ideas, that you're the one that should be paid attention to, and we should tell the conservatives to, nope, they're no good. You're no good because you have bad ideas, and even if you have better ideas, we don't care. This is what we believe to be right, and we are the champions of this, and you need to shut up, and that's the end. Well, the problem with that is that if you want me to get specific, Jimmy, I'll do that, and here's how I'm going to do that. and I'm not going to talk about the legal aspect of this because we know, look, Roe versus Wade. We know that the Supreme Court allowed for this to be legal. I don't agree with it, but it is legal. So let's put the legal argument of abortion aside. The moral argument. Let's talk about the moral argument. You're going to tell me that it's morally superior to allow a woman to make a decision to kill her child. And don't say it's not a baby, because it is. It's been established medically that that child is a baby. Once it has a heartbeat especially. That's a child. That's a living human being. What gives you a moral authority when you champion those causes? When you champion the privilege, I'm not going to call it a right, even though the United States now calls it a right, it really isn't. According to God, you have given a woman the special privilege to kill her child. That's what you've done. Let's be real about this, and let's not sugarcoat this. This is exactly what's happening. You can try to deny it. You can try to say that that's not what's happening, but that's really what's happening. Women are telling the doctor, yes, I want this baby to be killed. That's really what they're doing. They may not say it that way, but does it really matter what they say? And that's basically the argument. This is the argument between the left and the right. They tend to put speech, language above behavior. And the problem with that is that language can sometimes be rough. And of course you see them criticizing Trump every day for using abusive language, what they call to be abusive language. But you know what? Behavior. Does it matter what a person says if they go to their doctor and send their child to the gallows? Does it really matter what they say? I could say the most eloquent words. Oh, like these eloquent words that were made up by some leftist. A woman's right to choose. Doesn't that sound so nice? It sounds beautiful, actually. It sounds heroic. It actually sounds heroic. That a man, that whoever came up with it's a woman's right to choose. How heroic is this? Wow. I feel, if I didn't know what they were actually doing, I would be right behind that little slogan. I gotta tell you, it sounds awesome. Because I do love women. I think, women do have the right to choose, just like men do. However, I don't think anyone has the right to choose to just kill a child. I'm sorry, I don't. But what I'm saying is, see how beautiful that language is, yet the end result of it is death? And this is what I'm getting at, is that sometimes we elevate language above behavior, and we try to treat words as though they are more important than behavior. And again, not to diminish the importance of words, because words do have importance. We know this. But I think, I hearken back to a scripture, a little story that was told by Jesus, who said, he told the story of the two sons. And the father had told both sons to get a job done, a particular job done. And he told the one son, the first son, and the first son said to him, "Oh, yes, father, I will get that done. I absolutely will." He was very agreeable to his father and nice. And he probably gave the father a good feeling to know that his son was agreeable to such a thing. Well, the second son, he went and told him, well, you got to get this done. And the second son complained about it. He was very angry. I don't want it. Why would I want to do it? He was very, very, very antagonistic towards his father about getting the job done. And so, of course, the father departed. And guess what? The first son that was agreeable didn't get the job done. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. And, and remember, this is the one that probably he made his father feel good by saying the right things, but he didn't do the right things. The second son that complained and was bitter about it actually went and did it. He did it begrudgingly, but he did it. He got the job done. He did what his father had asked him to do. And so you have to ask yourself, which one did God esteem above the other? Which one gets the most honor and deserves respect? Well, you have to remember that God always puts behavior above words. If a person might complain at first, they might say something that's a little not agreeable. It's because it's human nature sometimes to be a little agitated, disagreeable for whatever reason. Maybe they're having a bad day. I don't know. But I think that the better angels of our nature, come out when we know we have a responsibility ahead of us. And so this is what I would say. What I would say to anyone who puts words above deeds, I would say you better straighten up and you better understand what's more important. Because again, people can get angry and say things they don't want to say. Even sometimes we get angry and we just say things we didn't mean, because it's so easy to say something. It's so easy to come out with a hateful word or a disagreeable word. But it's a little bit more difficult to do something wrong or to not do something right. And so I think that's what we have to be very careful how we judge, and how the left is judging Trump in this regard. The left is saying because Trump says certain things that are antagonistic, that maybe will create division, although the real division has been created by the other side. We can see that. So what I would say to you is, what is more important? A cross word occasionally, or someone who does something egregious to harm someone irreparably in many cases? So what I would say is, again, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, what gives you the moral high ground? What, because you say things that sound really wonderful? Because you champion causes that you believe are morally superior to the causes of a conservative? Is that what you're trying to say? I would tell you, you are absolutely incorrect. I would tell you this very day, I would tell you that you have a lot to learn. You don't have a lot of credibility in this area. And I will hearken back to a conversation that I saw the other day between Jimmy Fallon and Cory Booker. Cory Booker is a senator from, I believe, New Jersey. Now look, this is the difference between Democrats and Republicans and left-wing and conservative. And again, I want to point this out because this is important for people to understand. This is something, and if you don't quite know how to articulate this, let me explain it to you so that maybe you can tell someone who disagrees with your viewpoint, maybe you can give them a little bit more insight to understanding what the difference is and why it is that in America we can't follow the Democrat viewpoint, because it doesn't follow American tradition and American, basically the American law in addition. So I'm going to explain this to you very carefully so that you can see it. Many of you probably already know, and I just wanted to say before I discuss this, I wanted to say, please, everybody that's watching this, share this video on your pages and share it to wherever you can. I want people to see this, even if it's not live, because it's important for us to get a little bit of education about certain very basic things. I don't want to get into the deep roots of a lot of this. I just want to get into the very basics of it. So this is what Cory Booker was trying to say. He was talking about basically democracy, in essence, saying that democracy, it was important to preserve democracy in our country, and that democracy is being eroded. And you saw, and he was very flowery about it. And of course, he made Jimmy Fallon genuflect, which that's not hard with people that Jimmy Fallon agrees with. But anyway, and it really brought something home to me. I'm watching Jimmy Fallon genuflect there and just act like he's worshiping this concept of, he's worshiping the concept of democracy, and it sounds again. This flowery word, it sounds so wonderful. Democracy. Ooh, you're a democratic country. I want to reiterate this to Americans and let you understand the difference. Let me say this to you again. America is not a democracy. Again, let me say it. America is not a democracy. America is a constitutional republic with laws created to defend individual liberties given by God. So there's a difference. And why the distinction? A democracy is what? It is majority rule. It is based on a majority of people in this country. If they have a particular viewpoint, they get to impose it upon the rest of America. The problem with that is that what if that idea is a bad idea? You can't let democracy rule for that very reason. Many people have believed in these bad ideas. And so what do? Here's what we do. What we do is we decide that we can't have democracy. Because again, what if the idea is a bad idea? And yet, because a democracy believes in that idea, We have to follow it because a majority has ruled upon it. We can't have that. We need to have laws. We need to have laws that protect individual liberty from those majority mob people that do that. And I'll give you an example. It used to be in this country, before any of us were ever born, hundreds of years ago, it used to be that, a majority of people thought that slavery was perfectly okay. Okay? Now, and I want you to think about this very carefully now, and this is the crux of the difference between democracy and, constitutional republic. How was slavery ended? How did we end slavery? That's a very simple question, and the answer is very simple. Slavery was ended by a very small group of individuals. In fact, it started with one individual, Abraham Lincoln, who wrote the Emancipation Proclamation, essentially freeing the slaves. Now, did a majority of Americans vote on that? Absolutely not. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it was one man that stood up for what was right, and he knew what was right. And then, of course, we made laws later that made sure that people knew, hey, look, the slave is now free. They are no longer in bondage to other men. And so we had to have laws. It wasn't a majority of people who made that decision, because if we had allowed it to be a democratically controlled decision, Lord knows how long it would have taken for slaves to be freed. Who knows, maybe they never would have been. I don't have that answer, but I can tell you they would have been slaves a lot longer. We would have been struggling with this a lot longer as a nation. So I think we have to understand that we must protect our individual liberties with a constitutional republic. And we got to stop talking about this concept of democracy. It's a bad concept to continually beat into the heads of people. We got to have these conversations. We have to stop telling people that democracy is superior. This is what we need. Our democracy is eroding, and this is what, and you know what? Maybe Cory Booker is right. Maybe Obama is right that democracy is eroding, but it should. Not maybe it should, it absolutely should. We don't need democracy in this country. We need a constitutional republic. And it's another reason why we don't have a straight up and down popularity contest vote for the presidency. Because we know that if we did that, sometimes the popular opinion is not the best one. We need to have an electoral college where rationality often rules. And it's much better. There's so many ways that it's better. I'm not going to get into it in this particular video, but I'm just going to tell you guys that you really need to think about things, and this is how you need to express it to your friends, to those who would say democracy is superior, and if I have to hear this again, I'm gonna like rip my hair out. It's just these people, Hillary won the popular vote. I don't care if Hillary won the popular vote. How did she win the popular vote? That's what's more important. She won it because the left and the right coast, the coast where New York City is and where California is, where Los Angeles is, those people were brought up in a public school system, and they were indoctrinated to believe that the Democrats were superior, and therefore they were indoctrinated into voting for mostly Democrats. That's not a good way to elect a president. So what we needed was a plurality of people to vote for the president, not a majority. And there's a difference. A plurality means that there's many different groups of people who voted for President Trump. For example, we had, and I'm talking about Democrats as well. We had, those in the industrial Midwest who were blue-collar workers who wanted jobs again. They wanted to be able to work in jobs that they were good at doing, and that had gone away because of high regulation. So what did Trump say? Trump said, I'm going to get your jobs back for you. I'm going to reduce regulations, and I'm going to get you back to work, and you're going to be happy for it. More food on the table, and more people are going to be happy. And so this is what happened. So they said, I'm going to give this guy a shot. And then you had what? Then you had a certain population in the black community that he told, what did he say? He said, what the hell do you have to lose? Have they done anything for you in the last 40 or 50 years? What have they done for you? What have they done? They've increased poverty levels. They've increased unemployment. They've done nothing for you. They made all these promises, right up to and through Obama. They made all these promises to you, and they failed you. So you know what? Give me a try, because you have absolutely nothing to lose. I'm going to do things. I'm going to let loose this economy. I'm going to do things that they have never done. And I'm going to give you a chance, at least. I'm going to give you a fighting chance. I'm not even sure that Trump knew at that moment how good things were going to be so quickly. I don't even think he knew that. But he did know that it would be better eventually. So what did he say to them? He said, what the hell do you have to lose? You give me a shot, and I'm going to make you believers. I'm going to make you happy. And what did they do? Some of them did. They said, you know what? I'm going to give this guy a try, because the other side hasn't helped me any. My family is still struggling after all these years. Generation after generation, our cities are crumbling, and what do we have? So you know what? I'm going to give this guy a shot. And you know what happened? It's starting to work out. Things are getting better. Unemployment in the black community is lower now than it's been since they've been recording it in history. I want you to think about that. So this is what we need to do, is spread that message that it's important to protect liberties of the individual and not get into this group identity. And, it creates so much division, because you know what? I'm an individual. I don't know about you, but I'm an individual. I don't want to identify as white. I don't want to identify as just a man. I don't want to identify as someone who is somehow an oppressor because of my group identity, because I happen to fit into one of these categories. Okay, that is disgusting, and it's dividing our country, and it's absolutely no good. And I would say that anyone that believes in that should be ashamed, and you really need to think about what you're doing, because it's awful. It is absolutely awful. So here's what I'm going to say to you and everyone. I'm going to say that if you don't agree with what I'm saying, I want you to look deep in your heart. I want you to search your heart for something that maybe you haven't ever searched for. Truth. Start looking at other opinions a little bit more carefully. I'm not saying you have to agree with something offhand, but study it. Actually do some research, because man, you have not even touched the top of that rabbit hole yet. You haven't gone down into the rabbit hole to understand what's happening. But I will say this also. I've been listening to a gentleman who I think is brilliant in his analysis. He can get a little bit wonky at times, and because he's a professor, and he gets a little deep sometimes. But if you listen to him, you get a lot of understanding. And his name is Jordan Peterson. This guy has a good understanding of how the group dynamic is destroying not only America, but Canada and the rest of the free world. It's destroying our world. I mean, it's the idea of groupthink. You have to agree with this majority of people, this whole democratic concept, and it's really destroying America. So let's fix this problem. I really think that it's important to understand that. Let's fix America. Let's get away from the concept of democracy, which destroys individual liberty, and let's start talking. Let's start a dialogue. If you are someone who is listening to me, you don't agree with what I'm saying, let's have a dialogue instead of a shout fest or a shame fest. Let's have a conversation, because I don't see you doing it. So if anybody has any questions for me, go ahead and ask now. I will try to answer your questions to the best of my ability. And go. So, yeah, I see some of this stuff, man. I gotta tell you, I see these things on TV, and it's just amazing to me just how foolish people can be. And they believe this stuff, and I get tired of it. I go on, because my girlfriend, she loves to watch the late night comedy. I understand why. It's funny. You try to entertain yourself and be have a little bit of levity in this serious world now. But the problem is, it's no longer comedy on these shows. It's mostly propaganda. It's anti-Trump and anti-conservative propaganda. That's all it is. They're trying to create a narrative here and push this narrative to the point where they want people to just look. You got to believe it. That's it. And if you don't, we don't care if we're funny. We're pushing this agenda, and that's just the way it is. And that's the problem. You don't have reality. Reality doesn't exist. Reality is subjective to these people. They don't even care. It's what they want, and it's what they're going to get, and they don't even give a crap. I mean, a lot of this stuff is common sense, and we just we just have we've lost our minds. And I don't like to see the hatred, no matter what you believe in. I don't want to see hatred among people. I want to see people actually come together and have conversations. And we can't have conversations anymore because everyone is so keyed up and they're fighting for their side, and it's funny how they, as soon as Trump gets elected, all of a sudden everything is falling apart and the world's going to come to a crashing halt and everything is just, but then again, I mean, if you think about it, the left always has this doom and gloom prophecy concept all the time about everything. So what I would say to you is, let's be wise. Let's think a little more carefully. Let's have conversations with people that don't agree with us, and let's try to think things out instead of the anger and the bitterness. I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of the hatred. I'm getting tired of turning my TV on and seeing the media constantly browbeat Trump and say terrible things about him and try to create rumors and dredge up these horrible things just to try to harm him instead of actually praising him for the good things that he's done. All right? I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of seeing the late night, what I call the late night left-wing ministers of propaganda, spread their baloney and their lies and their hatred, telling nasty jokes about him constantly. They spend most of their show doing this, and it's disgusting. And they're bringing on people on their shows that have a pure hatred for the president, and they're agreeing with him, and they're treating it like it's such a, this whole resistance concept. Like, like Jimmy Fallon, he's got this serious look on his face when he talks to Cory Booker, and he's like, oh, yes, we need democracy. Oh, we're in danger. Can you save us, Cory. Save us, Spartacus. And it's just disgusting. It's disgusting. So anyway, I guess I'm going to end this, but share this with your friends. Get people to understand what's happening in this country. We can be a little smarter. We can be a lot smarter. And we can love people and still disagree with them. Please understand that. We can love our neighbor. We can love our enemy. In fact, Jesus told us, love your enemies. You can love them, but that doesn't mean you have to agree with them. What you do is you show them the truth in love. You show them what works. Instead of creating an enemy and creating a deeper rift between you, try to show them in a loving way, in a straightforward way, not a hateful way. I know it's difficult. Believe me, it's difficult. I know this, but we have to try. We have to try to bring the truth. And you know what? If you're constantly in prayer for the truth, if you're constantly looking to reveal the truth to these people, it's going to come eventually if you just keep on pressing in and praying. Remember something, Trump was an answer to our prayers. Donald Trump was that answer to our prayers. He is giving us the things we prayed for. And for how long we waited for this. And here it is. And yes, the enemy's coming hard. Let's be honest, the enemy's not going to give up. The enemy is not going to just drop his weapons and say, well, we've been defeated, let's go home now. That's not the way it works. The enemy is relentless. But remember, you can still turn around some of the enemy. You can turn some of them around from their wicked ways and show them, hey, you're thinking the wrong way. You're not doing this right. We already have examples of that. We have examples of people who voted for Barack Obama. They even voted for Hillary. And then they found out later, man, was I hoodwinked. And so what happened? They came to see the light, and now they are walking in it. And remember, that's something else I wanted to mention, the walk away movement. You should watch some of the videos from the walk away movement. It's amazing. They tell these incredible stories of how they were turned around, how they finally saw the light and saw the truth. And now they're walking in it, and it's going to be fantastic for them. But we need more people. We need more people to come forward and talk about that. We need all the help we can get from all different walks of life. I don't care where you come from, the black community, the white community, the Hispanic community, the gay community. I don't care where you're coming from. We need people in those communities to step forward and say, I see the light now. And I am not on the side of the bigots, the true bigots. The true bigots are the ones that use group identity to try to destroy this country. And we're done with it, aren't we? So spread the message. I want you to share this video. This is Michaelantonio, and I want to talk to you about something very serious today. Did you know that every time somebody doesn't like my videos, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, that a tree falls in the forest and dies? Next time it could be your fault. So, let's not make that mistake, okay? What are you going to tell Mr. Tree back there, huh? What about him? Yeah, that's right. So, go ahead and do what I told you, all right?
Subscribe and hit that notification bell at least, okay? Bye, everybody.